Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I am Steve Stuckey with my co-host, Dan Hopman, for the PSD EdTech Coaches Podcast. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm tired. How are you doing?
Tired is a pretty plain adjective. I'm thoroughly exhausted. It has been a
I would
long
agree.
week.
Yeah. But you know what? Here's the thing. Yes, it has been a long week, but at the same time, it's been sort of invigorating because we've got people who are asking some great questions and needing some great help.
I never envisioned that I would be sitting in front of a computer being an ed tech guy so many hours a day.
Yeah, it's I was kind of joking around with my family about taking laps around the house just to try to get some movement in because that's what I'm used to. So yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement. At the amount of time sitting down, but at the same time, like I said, being able to help people has been awesome.
And I'm absolutely sure from talking to teachers, especially as we hit some help during appointments this afternoon, they are exhausted as well.
Oh, for sure. And we know that the anxiety is still high, but at the same time, though, we have teachers that have that high anxiety who are trying stuff that they've never done before, and I can't be more proud of them to even. I have talked to some teachers who are just like, forget about it. I'm going to make it as easy as possible, but then at the same time, getting those high anxiety teachers wanting to know more. It's I'm so proud of them. I can't say that. I can't say that enough.
I hope that they're just not so tired that they just don't care anymore.
Very true.
Which could happen. But we've had some great things. All the ed tech department from myself and you and our other two coaches, Jerry and Melissa, and our coordinator, Chris, we have put out a lot of training, and we've been running a YouTube channel for quite a few years now, and it has taken off just like a virus.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, we started it as a way to be able to kind of curate all of our videos that we would make and we would send out, and all of a sudden it has become a vital tool that we've been using over the last month to get information out to all of you.
Yeah, for the last month or last 28 days, it has shown that we've had over 6,500 views, pushing, over 6,600, I think, and way beyond what our normal viewership is.
Yeah, and looking at, and my thing is I look at the what seems to be the most popular classes. I know you were looking at that. Which ones did you see were the most popular webinars or videos that we had?
Well, yeah, beginning Google Classroom, and I'm not surprised based upon how many people were requesting access to use Google Classroom as a teacher for the very first time in our district. Several hundred, yeah.
That's crazy, and I know just yesterday I put out the ability to use Zoom on an iPad, and that one's already just in the last. Since I put it out at 4:00 yesterday, which would have been Thursday, depending on when you're listening to this. And I already have over 150 views on that video alone. So for that video, it's only 24 hours. So I'm glad people are able to watch that and get some information on how to do Zoom on an iPad.
And we started our very first pop-up webinars, and I had close to 200 people watch the webinar live. And that one's got some pretty good action also in the last 48 hours on our YouTube channel, which is, if you go to YouTube and you want to do a search, it's PSD Instructional EdTech Coaches Channel. But you can find our playlists at palmdalesd.org/edtech. And you'll see a little red YouTube button. If you haven't subscribed, all you have to do is click on it.
Yeah, again, looking at the analytics, because I tend to look at the data. The fact that our channel in that 28 days has had over 750 hours of watch time, that to me is just crazy, and that to me is just an extension of what we've been doing over the last 3-4 weeks.
So teachers are hungry for the knowledge, and we're proud that we have this channel that we can provide those resources for them. And so thinking of that, teachers spending a lot of time learning new things. We can't be any more proud at teachers who are working through all these struggles of using tech, many of them for the first time, and meeting students for the first time online, almost crying in meetings earlier in the week and then meeting back again. And with small victories, I met with some of my students today, and they were so happy with smiles on their faces just to see their kids.
Yeah, to me, it's the joy of seeing the kids smile. I know talking to a lot of teachers as well. Um, and the excitement of I got it to work. It's that connection. When we're face to face, we get that instant connection, and to bring that back to the teachers, I mean that's precious for them, and I'm so happy they were able to do that.
And as we look at those small victories, we have teachers obviously with wide ranges of abilities when it comes to ed tech, and teachers being a creative bunch that they are. I know that one of our teachers, Ricky Myers, was in the newspaper this last week for what he's doing with his PE teaching.
Oh yeah, Ricky's created this website where his kids, and I'm assuming that he's linking it through Google Classroom to reach them. He's recording videos for them to do PE at home, and I think he's also reaching out in Zoom and doing live workouts with them. He's really taken the bull by the horns and really run with it. It's the whole idea of making that connection. He is definitely doing that very well.
So again, we can't be more proud of the things that we are seeing and how teachers are, once they've learned something small, they're calling up, they're texting saying, well, can you train me on this? Can you show me this? They already are thinking, I want to move forward with using ed tech.
And I think that's the whole thing, is this idea of moving forward. I have talked to a few teachers about, taking what we're learning now and not just using it now, but improving on what we're doing in the future when we do get to go see our kids face to face again. How do we make ourselves better teachers by learning now? So that's been a lot of the conversations I've been having with teachers as well.
Right. I encourage many who we've talked to, and it's really not about the technology. It's about our pedagogy and what we do when we teach. And this is a great time for us, because we tend to have a whole lot of time by ourselves, to reflect on our practices. We often can get used to what we do every day in the classroom, and now we're thrown in this new situation. We're finding some old practices, some old habits aren't working so well here. And maybe you need to question how well they were working in the classroom before. Were you doing most of the work, or were the kids doing most of the work?
And I know right now a lot of teachers are saying, well, I'm doing all the work right now. We understand that is the case. But right now, I think a lot of the focus needs to be on that time that you're getting with your kids, and not making it necessarily a lesson, but making it a way of just interacting with them, checking on their well-being, and not worrying about that 20-minute time being or more, not being academic.
I need to have a 7-step lesson plan. No, you don't.
I can't even imagine trying to do something like that, in distance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard enough to do that in the classroom as it is, but to have to sit there and do it distance, that to me just seems like it's way, way, way too much.
Right. Now, so the teachers are saying, I'm doing all the work right now, but they're actually not doing the teaching work. They're doing the actual creation and providing opportunities for kids to do the work and to take on some of their own learner or student agency of gaining the knowledge with the resources and the guidance that you provide, rather than standing up as the sage on that stage saying, I'm the holder of all knowledge, here you go, you need to listen to me, take some notes. The teachers who are doing this right are finding out that old style doesn't work. You need to create the opportunities, provide a push in the right direction with good feedback and a little bit of coaching on the side.
I know a few coaches that would be able to help out those teachers coach their students. That would be kind of cool. We would love to help you guys out.
Right.
One of the things that and one of the things that I'm also trying to get across, I know you are as well, the ladies are as well when they talk to teachers, is this idea of, well, this new situation, how do we interact? How do we think? On our Facebook page, on the our PSD Instructional Coaches Facebook page, I shared a picture that Edutopia put out. If you don't know what Edutopia is, it is the brainchild of Mr. Star Wars, and what he does is he created this nonprofit, and his company puts out some really good ideas for teachers, and one of those was the idea of how do we think before we start working with our kids, like the idea of relationships before rigor, or grace before grades, which you've heard Steve say a few times, patience before programs, and above all else, love before lessons. That was quoted from Brad Johnson, who's an educator. And that to me just resonated on what this situation is just all together. If I were to put it all into a ball and say, this is what we're in, these would be the 4 ideas that would be in there.
Those are some excellent ideas. And Edutopia, is it .org, I believe?
I believe it's edutopia.org. I know I followed them on Facebook because they always seem like they're putting stuff out to teachers and on lessons, things about social emotional learning, distance learning. It's not just about, the how to make education better. There's a lot of really good practical things for teachers to keep in mind during that time.
As teachers thinking about and reflecting on their learning, we know that you're learning a lot and you're trying some things, and we've encouraged you to keep it simple. Start with one thing, get used to it, learn it. But we're going to encourage you not to stay static. Don't just say, well, I've learned it and this is the way I do it. There might be better ways to do it, more efficient ways to do it, ways you've never even thought of. So we encourage you to share ideas that you've come up with others within your grade level PLCs, your other colleagues. Seek out an expert like one of the tech coaches who might help you look at it in a different way so that you can become even better or improve your practices so much more.
Yeah, and I had said earlier, us 4 would, and I know, and that also would, if I were to put those out there, there's the tips coaches, you have your EL coaches, you have your InStack coaches. I mean, all of us all kind of have the same point of view on this, and we would love to help you guys out with that. And, maybe even have a discussion if you're not sure.
That is absolutely right. And one of the things that keeps coming up, and I hear it through my emails, sometimes through my Zoom meetings with teachers, are we supposed to be giving grades right now? Do we need to give them grades?
It's like we said earlier, I think Steve mentioned it last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, feedback way above grades right now to help the kids improve. I think even the state, we were in a meeting with Elena today, and she was mentioning that the state has pretty much said, for now, everything that happened before we went on break is what the final is going to look like. So worry about the improvement right now. Worry about the feedback, and don't worry about the A, B, C, D, F. Worry about the kid.
The complaint, well, my students won't do it unless there's a grade. But you know what? You give them great feedback, you're probably going to change the culture of I do things for grades to I do things because I like to learn. And that's a big shift.
It's a huge shift, and especially for teachers, because we have been for many, 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 many generations an idea of grades above anything else. And that's how kids get into college. That's how kids get placed in high school and junior high. And, today's student is just not looked at that way. It's much different than it was generations ago.
And students, well, I shouldn't just say students, but all of us learn naturally by gaining feedback. That feedback could come from people we know. It could be from trial and error and experimenting. I think of the Spheros and watching even adults learning how to use the Sphero little robots for the first time. And they try to program it and they fail and they go back and do it again. They're having fun doing it, but the feedback is the fail. They have failed and keep changing what they do every little bit of time so that they actually gain understanding and knowledge. If I would have said to a teacher the first time that they tried to program something, well, you got an F, they're going to shut down. They were going to be done. The grade was final. A grade is a final thing. Feedback feeds your knowledge.
I think for me, I just got my master's at the end of it. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago now. And I knew that once I got that grade, I was done. I got to move on to the next thing. And that's the way our kids think too. So whenever I would get feedback, I would thrive on the feedback. But once that grade hit, I was done. I was ready to move on to the next thing, and I didn't look back. And I think a lot of our kids do that as well.
Right. It's all about how we model a growth mindset. And this is your opportunity to really try that, because the grades don't matter right now, but how you respond to your kids, both in their work and personally, will be a huge game changer. So we also have some trainings coming up. As coaches, we've been spending a lot of time helping you troubleshoot, but we also say, we got some things that you might want to try. And so next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we are going to have Jerry do a class dojo for beginners if you've never used class dojo. And Melissa on Wednesday is going to do a Flipgrid for beginners. I absolutely love Flipgrid. I've almost got my level 2 certification on that. As soon as I have a spare minute, I'm going to get that finished. What do you got going on?
That's whatever a spare minute looks like, right?
We make podcasts during our spare minutes, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's right. We also have Imagine Learning coming in. Justin Materna, who I know really well. He's a great guy. He knows Imagine Learning better than anybody. He knows how to really work with those EL students. He's doing some trainings on Tuesday and Thursday, one of them specifically for the dual immersion idea, or the dual immersion schools. So that'll be a really good one to go to. And I'm going to be partial. What I think is going to be the best one out of all of them is that I will be doing a review of Zoom, and I had asked the district, all of you guys, to send me questions on Flipgrid. So if you haven't done that, you've got until Tuesday night, and then Wednesday.
They've been doing it because you made me a co-pilot in that, and I keep getting the emails.
So you got to turn off the notifications. So when you go to the Flipgrid,
just like Google Classroom, you have to turn off those notifications.
Turn them off. Melissa can help you with that during your class.
Yeah, it would have been nice if you would have actually told me that you were doing that beforehand.
Hey, Steve, I just want to let you know I'm going to put you on as a co-pilot on my Flipgrid class. I'm going to be asking the district about. You've been so notified.
Yeah, thanks. 700 emails on top of my 5,000 emails. Right.
That's sorry about that. That was my fault. So I'll be doing a review of Zoom on Wednesday. I'll be answering as many of those questions as I can. All of our sessions, and I can't speak for Imagine Learning. I can only speak for Jerry, Melissa, and myself. Will be recorded, and we will put them up on YouTube, on the YouTube channel that we talked about earlier. So that if you can't make it, if you're meeting with your class, if it's your lunchtime, whatever it might be, you'll still have access to those classes.
So I guess with that, we'd like to thank you for spending a few minutes right before your Easter weekend. We wish you that you have a great Easter. Sorry that you can't spend it with friends and family from all over the place. It is what that is. But be sure to take some days off, not to be thinking about work. It'll be there for you on Tuesday.
But if you want to practice Zoom, have a Zoom meeting with your family, bring them into your dinner, spend some family time remotely. You guys can use your account to do that. So it's a great way to practice running Zoom, is to do it with your family. Have fun with it.
I'd love to see some of you do a virtual Easter egg hunt with your grandkids or your cousins and nieces and nephews. That would be kind of interesting.
That would be very cool.
Making you think now, isn't it?
I am. I'm actually writing as you say that.
All right. So we expect to see the virtual Easter egg hunt with cousins in Georgia. You guys over here. Love it.
You got it. I love it. I love that idea.
All right. So, hey, happy
That's
Easter,
awesome.
y'all. I think we are going to be out again. Take some time off, reflect, relax, come back at it on Monday, and have some small victories. They lead to large ones.
Have a great 3 days, guys. Enjoy. Happy Easter.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time.